something, 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 so don't say anything that you don't mean to.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Great, thank you. I figured we just kind of talk about colonizing crash recording, colonizing worlds. We'll start with the why, like why we should do this at all. My role here will be slightly to play devil's advocate, so just kind of like, why are we doing this? We got problems here on Earth. What's the point of doing this at all? Some space. We'll go into, okay, why, and then how. I'll probably push back a little bit with the, look, we can't even get humans past low Earth orbit. How are we going to colonize the solar system? Kind of lay out a few plans, talk about the book, stuff like that. Seem about right?
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Anything that you don't want me to talk about?
No, that's fine. I mean, it is kind of an odd idea that I have, and I appreciate people have different views. So no, ask away.
Yeah, but odd. It won't let you go live?
You're running live.
Politics, religion. Just kidding.
Try removing them and adding them back
Come up
in.
eventually with colonization.
I don't need the Pope consent or anything. It's fine. Politics. There's like one or two very small political thing. I talk about the Outer Space Treaty a lot.
Industry or space in
Right.
general. That's perfectly fine. Don't feel shy about comments like that, I suppose.
Remove it and add it back again. I don't know why it's giving it.
Yeah, no, I've actually I visited Huntsville. Like I as an air defense officer, and I've worked with a lot of aerospace stuff.
She's misbehaving. All right, people, we're about 10 minutes out from going live. Hello, Internet. I don't have the chat room open yet. I'm sorry.
It's a Subaru Forester. Oh, it's great. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. Higginbottoms work very well on stupid name things. Or surprising me.
Twitch still not going.
All right, give me a minute.
If you can adjust your camera just a little bit more so that window in the corner there isn't in frame, that'll help the lighting. Other way. Yeah, that looks a bit better.
Okay.
Your face is a bit dark on it, but that looks pretty good. We're not getting overexposed. It's not too bad though. That looks pretty good.
Okay. Okay, trying to center myself.
All right.
Hey kids, do we want to do a rundown?
Yeah, we do. We
Run
want
through
to.
of the open.
We should absolutely do that. And you said it's not starting on Twitch.
Correct. Space Mike, you have
Dance.
an image in the thing. Are you done with the rundown?
As far as I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done with the rundown. Oh, you know what? Actually, I might do that. Yes. Actually,
Yeah,
I am going to edit one thing on the rundown because Carrie Ann's lines are still
You can
on the old story, so I'm going to update that.
you can edit text in the rundown without affecting the cast bar rundown. It's just if you change media. Or,
Right, yeah, I'm
or,
not changing
or
any-
change the sort order of things. I need to know.
Yeah, I'm not changing any media or anything like that. Just the text.
Okay. Yeah, you're fine.
There we go.
6 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you're on.
And there we go. moment.
Oh boy.
There we go. Is that a Jared?
It is.
Getting the
There's a
giggles
mic.
out? Breathing heavily.
Yes. just amping up. So.
All right. Up here. Blue Origin conducts a successful hot fire test of the world's largest methane rocket engine.
Having a heck of a time getting the new Twitch stream key. I can't find it. They bury this stuff. Oof.
4 minutes. Yeah, I definitely want my mic back.
I'm so sorry.
What?
John's last name, I forgot how to pronounce it.
Amabile?
Thank you.
It's Amabile, like
Amabile.
Mobile, Alabama.
Perfect. Thank you. Very helpful.
Why are you so low, Carrie Ann?
I'm on now.
Nice.
I can try talking. Yeah. Yeah. I'll probably be a little bit more during my segment, and then I'll probably find a dark corner to die in for the second segment. And I snore though. We don't need that on. That's true. There's no mic in here. I suppose that will work, except for this one. But
Yes, sir. Here's some words. I'm really excited today, especially for the space pod about.
Mike, can you give me some words, please?
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Carrie, and I hope that you feel better, and maybe it would help if we gave you your old intro. That would be awesome. Jared, do you remember it? Hello and welcome to Tomorrow. We are joined today by Carrie Ann, the lovely, beautiful, talented Carrie Ann. Not either of our wives.
Yes.
Something like that. Today I had eggs with bacon, some Frank's Red Hot, tomatoes on
Red Hot.
thin sliced bread, and toasted. It was delicious. How we doing there?
I'm good.
You still
I'm
need
good.
more
No,
words?
No, I'm good. You can shut up now.
Okay, cool.
Jeez, Dada. Wow.
See the way these people treat me. Ah.
Jeez. Dada's not messing around today. Dada's doing straight up Hemingway, just using the least amount of words possible. So, oh man. Silence. Be quiet.
yeah, hologram abuse. It's okay. Holograms don't have feelings. The AI is not that advanced yet.
I feel like there was like several episodes about this.
Yeah, probably.
I think the new Blade Runner movie deals with this, right?
Hey, John, did we cover format with you?
I guess no. Like I read the little tips for the.
Okay, so we have a new segment that's we shoot for 15 to 20 minutes, but sometimes we go longer than that. and then we do a quick commercial, and then we'll come back to you with the interview.
Okay.
And then the interviews, I think we usually shoot for about 30 minutes. Once we're done with the interview, you're free to hang up. We don't have control over that at that point, so I can't hang up on you. But you're more than welcome to stick around in After Dark if we have more questions. We usually take questions from the chat room or whatever in After Dark. And that's after a comment section. That's another 15 minutes.
Okay, so like 2:15 or 2 to 2:15. Well, I know we're in different time zones. So the first 15 minutes you're talking about something else, then a commercial, and then you're going to be interviewing.
Yep,
Yes.
that's correct.
Okay.
Whoa, hold on, I've got the wrong rundown open.
For now, I'm going to mute you.
All right, we should be live on Twitch now.
32, you want 39?
Yeah, I don't want to be 7 weeks behind.
I mean, you.
Oh, also, hello, YouTube.
Yeah,
Tony
I
McDonald.
could not talk in that room, dude.
You can't talk in the YouTube room?
No, you.
Oh, yeah. No, I know.
It's cutting now.
No, I know. We don't, thanks. We don't have the new microphone receivers aren't in yet, so.
Yeah, this is great. You can see the YouTube comments. This is
Yeah, right?
awesome.
Isn't that
Hi,
neat?
YouTube.
And
YouTube,
you can
Twitch, and the live TMRO.tv chat room all in the same place.
and you can push into air.
Cool.
That's a wonderful thing.
Nice.
You can start. Unless you need a rehearsal of the thing, you can go ahead and start.
Apparently Twitch is offline.
As of how long ago?
Not sure. Micah saying got Twitch notifications, but channel is offline.
Twitch is
We're getting
correct.
a couple
Oh,
people
never
from
mind.
Twitch saying hi, though.
No, Twitch should be up now. I just fixed it.
Twitch
Okay.
currently shows streaming.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, everybody's saying that it just now went live. So
Okay, we are at 11:02. Do we want to do a run through of the intro? Or
No,
we
just
wanna
go.
do
If
it?
you have to stop and restart, then do that.
Welcome to the conversation. I am Carrie Ann, and I'll be your host in this first segment of the show. I, of course, am joined by Jared, our resident astronomer, as well as Mike, our rocket specialist. And I also have a Dutta behind us who is going to be doing the actual producing of the show. Don't mind those extra hands back there. We'll get to those in a second. Today in news, we have...
on the moon, we may have found, you guessed it, a series of tubes.
And Blue Origin conducts a successful hot fire test of the world's largest methane rocket engine.
So pretty. And then in our second segment, Ben is going to be talking with John Amabile about terraforming 2 planets in one lifetime. I'm not making this up. We really have them for real this time. And then in our third segment, we're going to be taking a look at your comments and questions about last week's show. This is Tomorrow Orbit 10.39.
Good morning. How's everything up in the sky?
The first thing I want to do at the top of the show is give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. These are of the escape velocity variety. These people have given us $10 or more for this particular segment of this particular episode. News is everyone's favorite segment, it seems like sometimes. In any case, they get their name in all 3 segments of the show and so much more. Honestly, there's just too much to list here. If you are interested in any of these sort of things, like getting your name in the show, maybe your name will appear a little bit later on, feel free to head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. Oh man. So Mike, I don't want to say that this week is a bit of a letdown in terms of launches because we had just so many last week, and it's impractical to think that we would have just as many every single week, but maybe shortly in the future we will. But we did have a really beautiful Atlas V launch, if you want to tell me more about that.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yeah, United Launch Alliance had a successful Atlas V launch, which launched a classified payload for the National Reconnaissance Office.
5, 4, 3, 2, have ignition, and liftoff. Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket carrying the NROL-52 mission for the National Reconnaissance Office.
This launch occurred on Sunday, October 15th at 7:28 Coordinated Universal Time from Space Launch Complex 41 in Cape Canaveral. This particular Atlas V was flying in the 421 configuration, meaning that it had the 4-meter payload fairing, 2 solid rocket boosters, which you can see being jettisoned on screen right there, as well as a single-engine Centaur upper stage engine. Now, this launch attempt was actually scrubbed 4 times. This was the 5th launch attempt of the mission, but it finally was able to take off. And as for the payload itself, we don't exactly know what it is since it's classified, but there is a lot of speculation that it is a data relay satellite for spy satellites and is bound for geosynchronous orbit. If those speculations are true, it would be part of the SBS program, or the Satellite Data System, which used to be codenamed Quasar. Whatever the payload is, United Launch Alliance announced that they had a successful deployment, so the launch itself was successful. The next Atlas V mission, though, is actually not scheduled until January of next year. So this was actually the last Atlas V launch of this year. So even though it was the only launch this week, it kind of was a special one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Interesting.
It's kind of funny. I don't know what programs ULA uses to show the rocket in orbit and all that sort of thing, but they always point out
Sure.
Earth for sure, so you know exactly where it is.
There's no question. There's no question.
No
about
question.
that.
In case not Kerbal, this is Earth, and that always sort of
Yes.
makes me giggle. Oh man.
That probably came up. They probably have so many comments being just like, "Is this Kerbal Space Program?"
Right?
So I don't think I don't mind the obvious definition there.
Totally. Oh, you know what? Actually, Neuropilot in the chat room is asking why 4 scrubs for the Atlas V for this particular launch. That was mostly weather, was it not?
Excuse me. Yeah, well, one of the launches was because of some sort of telemetry system that they had a faulty, some sort of fault with, but that was, I believe, the second scrub that they had. The first one was due to weather. The second one was because of that. They rolled it back to the assembly building and fixed whatever transponder or whatever that was. I'm not exactly clear what that was. It might have been something with the spacecraft. That's why there's little information about that. And then the next 2 scrubs were because of weather. So
I'm surprised we don't have any wayward clouds or wayward weather Twitter accounts yet. I feel like, right? Wayward boat, wayward plane. Somebody get on that.
we have the high altitude clouds.
Upper
There's that count.
upper level winds.
Yeah, no, good call
Yes,
on that.
yeah, upper level winds.
That's funny. Oh, gotta love it. Love Twitter. All right, Mr. Jared,
Yes.
you teased us with these tubes on the moon.
Yes.
What-
Well, under the surface of the moon.
What is going on?
I know it's a really
man?
weird way to come in, especially pulling old internet jokes back.
is, sorry.
But there's a lot of ideas for how you should potentially build a lunar base. Some of them are like, you put the modules on the surface of the moon, and then you cover it with lunar regolith, and that's going to provide you some radiation shielding. Well, a study that was jointly conducted between NASA and the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, also known as JAXA, has found a place that could potentially be perfect, not just for making a lunar base, but for large-scale lunar colonization. And this was a sort of a study that kind of snuck in under the radar.
Yeah, no kidding.
With this one here. And speaking of radar, it does require a little bit of radar to do it. There's a JAXA probe called Selene, which operated in orbit around the moon for nearly 2 years from 2007 to 2009, carried a radar instrument, and that was capable of penetrating the lunar surface to some depth. And it found something interesting in the pattern returned while the spacecraft was flying over the Maurice Hills over the moon. And it was an echo indicative of a lava tube. And there were also several more similar echoes found in the nearby area. Okay. So lava tubes, sort of the leftovers of where lava flowed underground. So I guess like a lava subway,
There you go.
if you will.
Nice.
Now JAXA actually went to NASA and they took data collected by the successful Grail mission, which was in orbit measuring the gravitational field of the moon, which tells us the distribution of mass, or how much stuff is actually there on the moon. Grail orbited the moon from 2011 to 2012, and after measuring that and using that data to infer what could be below the surface, lo and behold, it showed that there was less mass than expected in these areas with the radar echoes. That indicates that these lava tubes may very well be real. So the preliminary estimates show that the lava tube is extremely large. It's several kilometers long, 1 kilometer wide, 1 kilometer tall. That is ridiculous in size. That's probably significantly larger than the majority of lava tubes here on Earth. Now, the only way that we're going to know this for sure, you got to send something to the surface and drop on in it. So there's the challenge. Take it up, New Space.
Yeah.
Here's your chance.
No kidding. Jason519 in the chat room is asking, how stable would the tube be, and would you have to reinforce it?
Actually, you likely wouldn't have to reinforce it. The fact that that lava tube is still there after the moon has been relatively geologically dead for billions of years tells us that that's actually a very stable lava tube, and that you shouldn't really have to do too much to reinforce it. I mean, obviously, if you're gonna build something in there, you want to go in, you want to take a look, you want to figure out the pressures and everything that's going on in there, and then determine whether you're going to reinforce it. But overall, doesn't look like you're actually going to need to do much, if anything, in it. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Very cool stuff.
Very, very cool stuff.
Makes me now want some sort of lunar sci-fi story that's like the version of Journey to the Center of the Earth or something like that. There's actually a bunch of crazy
Yeah, maybe
stuff
we'll find
in there.
dinosaurs in there for all we know. I don't know. So,
Yeah, that'd be great. That's where they came from. Oh my gosh.
I think it's pretty amusing that like we started in caves and then moved out, and now that we're going to go into the solar system, we're like moving back into caves to figure it out.
That's
So.
just using
Lunar
previous
Caveman's
knowledge.
a pretty cool title, though.
Yeah,
I mean, come
Lunar
on.
Caveman. I can't argue with that. That's pretty awesome. So.
That's funny. Awesome. All right, Mike. Blue Origin did some interesting things in the last couple of days.
And they talked about it.
And they did,
interesting
and they
things.
talked about it. Very good point. Tell me a little bit more about this test fire.
Well, yeah, they successfully, or we think successfully, completed a hot fire test of their BE4 engine, which is fueled by liquid methane and liquid oxygen. And with this, they did release a 6-second video of the test. There wasn't any sound of this, though. They uploaded this to Twitter. And a couple things with this, they didn't disclose the duration of the test or any data about it, you know, the engine's throttle setting, or how much ISP or how much thrust they were able to get out of it. But in any case, it seems that things were going well. At least that's how they've announced it. And the BE4 engine is being developed with mostly private funds from Jeff Bezos, Amazon.com founder, and is going to be used on Blue Origin's new Glenn rocket, which should start flying in 2020. The BE4 may also be used on United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket as well, but since there hasn't been a formal decision made yet, whether or not Vulcan is going to use Blue Origin's methane-fueled engine or Aerojet Rocketdyne's kerosene-fueled engine, the AR-1 engine. But Tori Bruno, United Launch Alliance's president, said in April that their team would confirm whether or not BE4's selection for the Vulcan rocket would happen once they've completed the initial series of hot fire tests. And he said recently, after this hot fire test, that they wanted to examine the performance and, make their final decision before the end of this year. So that could lead to some very good news, and we could see this engine start flying very soon. Now, Blue Origin did announce back in April of this year that the first BE4 engine was installed on its test stand near Bezos's ranch near Van Horn, Texas, and added that the first hot fire test was expected very soon. But the BE4 engine suffered a setback in May. Blue Origin announced that it lost a set of BE4 power pack hardware during a ground test mishap. But whatever problems they were having, the company has been able to recover and at least start these hot fire tests again. And even though they haven't been disclosing a lot of details, hopefully we'll start getting some email updates from Jeff Bezos soon. And either way, it seems like they're up and running again, and hopefully there'll be some better publicly available video very soon of these tests.
Very nice. Some people in the chat room are saying that let's see if I can push this one over. It says, after months of waiting, what finally happened on Wednesday at the company's facility in West Texas, when the BE4 engine fired at 50% power for 3 seconds. That's coming from an Ars Technica article. So, quote unquote, thank you, Chiellini, in the chat rooms for that. So, we have at least that
I
much.
didn't see that. I don't know if the.
Oh, no, I
original
mean,
was
you
from-
know, there's only like a million places to look. You can't look at all of them. I can't blame you for that. So
Yeah. And-
thanks again to the chat room for being our more eyes and ears as always.
And 3 seconds, even at 50% power, is still super important. If you think about
yeah.
all the data channels that you're getting back from a rocket engine during a test like that, and then actually going back and examining it, that is so important in the development of your engine, especially when you're doing something like they are here with Methalox. Not necessarily something that nobody's done before, but just something that's bringing in a new era of propulsion. That's going to be very exciting.
And I don't care if it was only 3 seconds. That 6-second video was so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Just having it look like that was just awesome. I feel like I see something different each time, you know?
Yeah. Mock
Yeah.
diamonds.
Yeah.
The kind of diamonds millennials are interested in. So,
Oh, that's funny. So, Jared, Cassini, like, we're still getting results from Cassini?
yeah, it's dead, but we're still learning things. So,
We're still okay. So, tell me about what we're learning, Jared.
So it has, as we mentioned in our little joke right there, been about a month since Cassini ended its mission by plunging into Saturn's atmosphere. But even with that, we're still poring over the data and new discoveries are still being made. And one of those actually involves the magnetic field of Saturn. Here on Earth, our magnetic field is offset by about 11 degrees from our axis of rotation. And Jupiter, its magnetic field is offset by about 10 degrees from its axis of rotation. And it's thought that if the magnetic field lines up with the planet axes, that it may very well kill what's called the dynamo, which is what drives the generation of a magnetic field. Now, Saturn's magnetic field is barely away from the axes of rotation. It's only 0.06 degrees away. So could this mean that Saturn's magnetic field is currently in the process of dying? Well, we're a little bit closer to figuring out that answer, but we're still going to have to pour over a lot more of the data. This is just essentially like a preliminary set of data that's coming from that grand finale orbit that Cassini was doing. Now, the mass of Saturn's rings is yet to be determined because when you fly around Saturn, you get the gravitational pull from both the rings and the planet itself. But because the grand finale orbits for Cassini were going between the rings and the planet, the majority of the influence of gravity as Cassini got close, it came from the planet itself. So we could actually isolate the rings, if you will, and figure out their mass. Now, we haven't determined that yet because we're still going over the data. This is very fine data that you'd have to really squeeze it out to work with it. But if anybody could do it, JPL could do it. Low mass rings would tell us that they were created by a recent event, such as maybe a moon straying too close to Saturn and those tidal gravitational forces ripping the moon apart. And of course, when I say young rings, I mean like 100 million years old. So
Obviously.
young in astronomical terms. But if the rings are high mass or higher mass than we expect them to be, that would tell us that they've persisted for a while. They're actually much older than we expected, and we would have to kind of go back and figure out ring formation after that. It would change sort of how we understand ring formation a little bit. Now, during Cassini's plunge into the atmosphere, it was a chance for us to actually directly sample the atmosphere of Saturn. And scientists expected a lot of water vapor to be in the atmosphere. And that's because the ring particles eventually do fall into the atmosphere of Saturn. And the ring particles are made mostly out of water ice. So you would expect to find water vapor in the atmosphere there.
Right.
Well, what they actually found in the upper atmosphere was a lot of methane, like a lot of methane. Now, the expected abundance of water vapor was found, but that methane that's there in the atmosphere of Saturn, it should be broken down by exposure to ultraviolet light. So that tells us that there might be some kind of mechanism there that's making methane in Saturn's atmosphere. So just another mystery to throw out there. And we got the post-mortem, if you will, of how Cassini ended itself on September 15th, just a little over a month ago, which it entered the atmosphere and it encountered Saturn's atmosphere at roughly 2,000 kilometers above the cloud tops while traveling at nearly 120,000 kilometers an hour. And for 91 seconds, Cassini held its own against those aerodynamic forces, fighting with its thrusters to keep its high gain antenna pointed at Earth. But eventually it lost the battle against aerodynamic forces and it actually tipped backwards. So we really didn't know what Cassini was going to do in the atmosphere of Saturn, but it basically sort of fell backwards on itself. And its S-band carrier signal maintained a lock for 20 24 seconds after the high gain antenna tipped backwards and couldn't communicate with Earth. And then finally, after 24 seconds, silence, which told us that Cassini vaporized in the atmosphere of Saturn. So it took just about 115 seconds from entry of atmosphere to vaporization for Cassini.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow, that must have been quite the sight.
Yeah. That must have been amazing for Cassini with the rings above it as it's going in and burning up. So,
Yeah.
what a way to end a 20-year mission. Nearly 20-year mission. So, man.
Yeah. Mike, did you have something
That
to add?
methane in the atmosphere, though, it makes me think of like a BFR mission to Saturn with some sort of atmosphere scooper or something, and doing like an aero break to like refuel real quick or something.
Yeah, might as well. So do aero capture while refueling. So.
Oh, that's very Wall-E visual that you just gave me there of like scooping out that. That's funny.
Like the one, like the satellite deployer version that has that scoop,
Right.
the claw, the mouth that opens
Right,
up.
but
It
then it
just
just-
opens up and scoops up.
Yeah, no problem.
That's the Wall-E for sure.
All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to have a calendar coming up for you guys. And then when we come back from that, Ben is going to be hosting John Amabile, author of Changing the World. Stay with us. There's more tomorrow coming up next.
Welcome back to Tomorrow. Now, before we get started with our interview segment, I wanted to give a shout out to all of the patrons of Tomorrow who've helped to make this specific segment of this episode happen. These are people who've contributed $10 or more to this specific episode. We also have our Orbital patrons. These are people who've contributed $5 or more to this specific episode. To find out how you can help crowdfund the shows of tomorrow, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, we've got John Amabile, author of Changing the World, joining us today. And we're going to talk about how, in John's plan, we might be able to colonize the solar system in our lifetime. So first off, John, thank you for joining us on this Saturday.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ben.
So let's start off with, before we get into how, let's start off with why. Why should humanity colonize the solar system, right? There's the argument that we have so many issues here on Earth already. Why not fix those first before we start spreading out and going to the stars?
Yeah, so this question comes up a lot, and I'll say my degree's in history. And it's kind of funny, if you look back on, where mankind has been for the last 6,000 years, I'm sure there were people in a cave at some point who said, oh, this cave sucks. But they didn't solve that problem by staying in that cave. They walked out of that cave and they found solutions to it. 300 years ago, Europe had a bunch of problems. They didn't say, oh, you need to stay here and fix Europe. No, they left Europe. They, found other places, got more food, created electricity and airplanes. So I think exploration and broadening your horizons is a wonderful way to solve problems. We shouldn't stay in our, our own little rut here. We should, explore. And also a big thing too is that it's that we should be free to choose that on our own. It's not like where there's 7 billion of us all having dinner together and we all have to eat the same food. We're all free, and if we opened up the solar system, if you as a private citizen want to stay here, you're free to do that. But if you want to, buy a house on Mars or build a hotel in the orbit of Saturn, that would be really interesting. And I'm sure you could get a few hundred people or a few million people to go with.
So you mentioned solving problems. Are there any specific examples you might be able to cite of problems that would be solved by exploring the solar system?
Oh, absolutely. So the simplest ones are rare earth metals. I kind of harp on that. I call them marketable metals in my book. But yeah, so things like rhenium, indium, americium, germanium, a lot of elements are insanely expensive here. Sadly, they're really only mined by countries that don't really have democratic, like China does a lot of this mining. Already for the Department of Defense on Earth is very awkward for us because some of our expensive weapon systems, we can only buy components from China, which creates all kinds of funny political problems. And a lot of these things are wonderful, lower greenhouse gas emissions, they're superconductors, they're amazing technology. We have so little of them on this planet, and no one's figured out a way. Like, no one knows how to make rhenium, no one knows how to make indium. It's only 20,000, 50,000 tons on the. So that would be the simplest one. Pollution. We could do mining in space with nuclear fuel, and so right now it's 1,100 kilograms of CO2 to refine 1 kilogram of gold. So if we could someday, if we had it all working, where we could fly to an asteroid, use a nuclear reactor, smelt a bunch of gold, bring it back to Earth on parachutes, that would lower the CO2 footprint in years by a huge margin. All existing technology, nothing crazy or science fiction. And finally, there'd be more room for people. If we had 3 planets instead of 1, if there's a refugee crisis on Earth, well, yeah, those refugees basically have to live in someone else's country and eat their food and drink their water. People might want to help someone, but you don't necessarily want them living in, someone else using your bathroom now. But if we had 3 planets, we'd have a lot more space, and that would help. That would help us in a lot of different.
You mentioned using existing technology, not using science fiction, future technologies, and that's kind of a big part of your plan. Can you outline? Because we talk about colonizing the solar system, and right now, at this exact moment in time, we are basically stuck in low Earth orbit. We can't even get to our own moon. So, can you outline your plan and talk about how, in our lifetime, we can colonize our solar system?
Sure. So, 220-page book, but I'll try to be very brief. So it does go in steps. So it can't just kind of, tomorrow we'll start terraforming Mars. But so kind of the first step would be getting rid of the or to be clear, America leaving the Outer Space Treaty, and we would invite a bunch of other democratic states. Right now, about 1 in 7 people on Earth are allied with the U.S. I'm a West Point graduate. I've been in the military for a long time. So yeah, a huge amount of the Earth are allies with us. Even countries most American, like the United Arab Emirates, is allied with us. Czechoslovakia or Czech Republic is allied with us. So there's a lot of little countries that are peaceful and democratic that are allies. So we would invite them to come with us, be a huge chunk of the Earth. We could kind of divide the solar system up, basically make it a joint stock company. So say, hey, the same way Pepsi and Coca-Cola are set up, if you want to invest in this colonization effort, investing being technology or money, however, that would give you shares. So if in my plan, most of the stuff, it's basically old U.S. military equipment, would go to space colonization. So the U.S. government would have a bunch of the shares. But if, Britain, France, Canada, Argentina, or just private citizens, business, anyone that was interested that wanted to contribute, they would get shares based on that. So that would be kind of step one. Then after that, we would just do a solar system survey. In particular, when I was in Afghanistan, there were gravimeters, so airplanes with gravimetric sensors that flew over Afghanistan and scanned it for resources. There's no reason we can't do one of those for the entire solar system, and it would not cost very much money. I kind of, chapter 3 of my book, I go into detail about that. And then finally, technology. There's a lot of amazing technology, in particular the Department of Defense, NASA, and the oil industry have on Earth that would be perfect to be used in space. But there's really no reason to do that because you can't own space. You couldn't make money. If I found an asteroid with tons of gold, if I figured out a way to bring it back to Earth, the property rights and the legal stuff is really hairy. None of the gold mining companies on Earth would mine an asteroid now because on Earth you can own a mine. Like that's your mine, that's it. If you spend $100 million to build a railroad or a power plant there, all that stuff is yours. Outer space law is really fuzzy, so somebody could just take, if you built an ore catapult and a nuclear reactor on Eros, somebody could just take it and say, oh, sue me, sucks to be you. The laws are very. So anyway, we do kind of survey the solar system. Also building infrastructure in Earth orbit. There's a lot of ways we can make food and propellant. That's basically chapter 4 of my book. I go into great detail on that. Also, the company TransAstra has figured out a way to extract water even from rocky asteroids near Earth. So that's kind of like an infinite amount of fuel. It's pretty incredible technology that exists right now. They're working with NASA to do that for a small space probe. Then basically we go to making money. So once we have infrastructure, property rights, we know where all the good stuff is in the solar system, we go out there and grab that stuff. Eros is a 2-week flight away from the Earth at its nearest approach with a nuclear thermal rocket. And it has probably $1 quadrillion of platinum on it, which is a low estimate, which we know from some of the parts of Eros that we've recovered on Earth. That's just one example. There's the whole Otten group of asteroids, is about 36 of them, are pretty easy flight from the Earth. Easy being weeks or months, not years. Then once we get all that money and all that technology, then that gives us enough money to start terraforming. So that is basically done, kind of a more radical part of my plan. But during the Cold War, we designed hydrogen bombs. So weapons of just incredible size, weapons way too big to be used on Earth. That's why we never built them. But all the math was there. It's pretty straightforward math. It's not very radical at all. But anyway, and of course, in my plan, we would not use them within 100 million miles of Earth. There'd be no safety risk at all. We would basically just divert comets and asteroids from the main belt or past the main belt into Mars and Venus. A lot of scholarly work done. A British professor named Paul Birch wrote a paper called Terraforming Venus Fast, where he figured out how much water Venus needs to be Earth-like. And then Robert Zubrin has written some articles on kind of the same idea. Mars needs kind of different stuff and different amounts of stuff. But it's the same idea. Earth, our atmosphere, almost certainly came from comets and asteroids billions of years ago because of our proximity to the sun. There's no reason we can't just divert some of those into Mars and Venus using basically, well, I call them fusion devices because they would not have a military purpose. But yeah, none of that stuff's very radical all the time. My book, I go into the specific math for it. It's really not that crazy. It's just you'd have to have a reason to do it. You know, if you owned Mars and we had thousands of people and tens of thousands of vehicles mining asteroids, then it wouldn't be that hard to divert a comet into Mars. Once Mars is terraformed, you can sell it for a lot of money. I mean, all the little pieces kind of fall into place, but it would require a big legal.
You know, it sounds like a lot of the issues that would come up are less technical, right? So from a technical standpoint, it sounds like everything you're talking about is doable, but more political, right? So you're talking about nuclear propulsion. That's going to be a huge political hardship to actually get flying in space at any level of usable thrust. You know, it's not my backyard problem, right? So people are not going to want that launching right over them. And then along those same lines, the Outer Space Treaty, right? So, you know, as Jazz Throut says in the chat room, the way is not to ditch a treaty, it's to make a better one. But, you know, that's easier said than done, right? So you want to make it so that you own property out in space. You're going to have essentially the world come together and agree on that. Is that viable? Is that doable? Can we do something like that in our life? Just the politics alone. Can we do that in our lifetime?
Well, you know, it's funny. So when I was in Afghanistan, we probably had 45 countries there. I mean, there was like, I think Malaysia sent people. I mean, I was just amazed at how many people were there. Or people sent humanitarian support. Egypt had a hospital there that they treated civilians. So it's really not that hard. We live on a very small planet. You know, and if you think of, like, I worked for General Electric for a while, and yeah, GE almost certainly has people or stuff in every single country on this planet. So we think of, like, Coca-Cola. Yeah, every single country on this planet is drinking Coca-Cola right now. Every single country on this planet is using Windows right now. So it's, you know, we don't really, the closer points of coordination, you know, we're going to, like, the ISS where everyone, you know, one country on Earth has to make each bolt of the darn thing. That might be a bit risky. But there's a lot of money to be made doing this. So absolutely, I think if we just say, hey, you know, we could give maybe 1% of the solar system for everybody just for signing up, and they don't have to do anything. And then, you know, America does most of the work, and we get 60%. I mean, in politics, that kind of stuff happens a lot. Like the United Nations, it's kind of a lot of people will kind of say, yeah, that's fine, and then a few countries will do most of the work. So I don't think that's impossible. There's so much to be gained from doing this. So that's thing number one. And also, I will say with the treaty, the core problem with the treaty, and people don't really get into the weeds on this, it states that outer space is the collective possession of mankind. Which, you know, if we made a treaty that said, hey, hot dogs are now the collective possession of mankind. So if you make a hot dog, I could just steal the hot dogs that you make. And no one, you know, you can't go to the police and say, hey, he robbed me. No one has property rights. Everyone would be rioting if you did that for anything on this planet. And that's basically just keeping us out of space. So my idea in history, so like when the Brits colonized North America, they said, okay, you know, a handful of rich British people, just a sheet of paper. They actually made money colonizing North America, far from spending a fortune to do it. So they said, hey, a handful of rich people, you now own South Carolina, Georgia, etc. Those guys figured out getting workers here, ships, logistics, all that stuff. Then they paid taxes out of colonizing it. And of course, we can skip a lot of the terrible stuff from Earth, you know. Obviously, there wouldn't be slavery. There's no inhabitants on Mars or Venus. There would need not be warfare there. But yeah, just sell, you know, give Mars to somebody, and then the profit could be distributed to different nations here on Earth. I'm sure Guatemala would prefer, you know, 1% of the platinum on Eros to 0% of the platinum on Eros. I don't think that would.
Is that a viable thing to I'll just say dissolve the Outer Space Treaty, or at least rewrite it to a point where you can own things in space? Is that something you see happening in our future?
Well, so specific, and one of the reasons I wrote this book, I think the problem, it's kind of a two-pronged problem. So on the one hand, a lot of the technology I talk about in my book, it's from being an Army officer. I know friends in the aerospace industry. I know people at NASA. So, but most Americans probably don't know that stuff exists. Like most people probably don't know how easy it would be to terraform Mars and Venus, or how easy it would be to, make quadrillions of dollars. And I think if the average person really understood that, if the average voter understood that on election days, then we wouldn't see, the Senate. It was almost unanimous when they passed that. Well, not unanimous, but there's not really been a big political debate about the Outer Space Treaty. So yeah, if people all over the world knew about it, would say, wow, why are we missing out on $1 quadrillion a year from this sheet of paper from 60 years ago? So anyway, I think if people kind of understood what this treaty is costing us, it would not be as popular as it is. And then people would be more interested in engaging and discussing and making comments.
All right, so let's move to the technology for a second, because you say this is easy to do. I mean, it's easy-ish, right? I mean, we're just now learning how to land rockets, and they're doing that at the edge of their margin. So, pulling back huge rare earth metals and large amounts of mass from space, we don't really have downmass capabilities today, and parachutes will not cut it. It's just going to slam into our atmosphere and disintegrate. So, is there a technological hurdle here that we have to get through in figuring out how to downmass things into Earth before this becomes realistic? Or is this a space-to-space economy where Earth doesn't matter?
Oh, no, absolutely. This is a space-to-Earth economy. So, and this stuff, I kind of, another reason I wrote my book, I feel a lot of military technology, we kind of don't, for some reason, there's this huge divide between military tech and NASA, which is really sad, I think. But so right now, and a lot of this, I was in Afghanistan 2010, 2011. So we had a thing called an LPAS, which is basically a GPS-guided parachute. So we can drop something from almost any altitude, and the GPS syncs with the GPS constellation. You can guide parachutes fairly easily. So we could deliver, a couple 100 pounds of stuff to a 10-digit grid, well, maybe a 8-digit grid within it'd land on a football field. Also, all the intercontinental ballistic missiles we have on Earth have ablative shielding. So they fly into space, they go over, somebody we don't like, they come down, and then the front of it is designed to break off on purpose so that all that remains is kind of the essential part of that system where, sadly for it to blow up and harm someone. But anyway, so in my plan, what we do is we basically take the ICBM ablative shielding idea, and we take the LPAS idea. So we would smelt the material on the asteroid itself. So on Earth, if you had 1 ton, so 2,000, I use the metric system most of my book. So you have 1,000 kilograms of ore, you might get half of a kilogram of useful stuff. That would be a lot. Probably get like 1/10 of a kilogram of gold out of, 1,000 kilograms of ore. But anyway, we would melt that on the asteroid itself. So we're not bringing back tons and tons of stuff. We're bringing back 50 pounds of solid gold or, 80 pounds of iridium. I think the exact number I use would be about 100 kilograms, 200 pounds. Would be kind of the largest single chunk. If we find a lot of good stuff, we might bring back 300 chunks, but it would be in small sizes. So that would fit fine on the LPAS, which the Army has right now. Lockheed Martin makes it. They're the same company that makes a lot of space vehicles, actually. So then we would put cheap material, so something like iron. It's $4 a pound, not really valuable enough to bring in from space. But we would put iron on the front of this. I call it an ore bundle. So we make an ore bundle, say 100 kilograms of something really expensive, 20, 30 kilograms of iron on the front of it. We do the math just right. It melts on its way. All the iron melts off on the way in. It comes down low enough. Basically the LPAS system on the back deploys, and we could guide that thing in. It wouldn't land in the middle of the Pacific. It would land like right onto a conveyor belt at a foundry to be turned into jewelry or computer wires or whatever. I mean, it would be. Even the Army does that stuff all the time. It's just we only do it, to practice harming people. Do it, make billions. So yeah, none of that stuff I would really think is super hard to do.
Well, I guess I'm not as well versed in ICBMs as maybe I should be, but aren't they generally considered suborbital speeds? So they're not hitting, they're going, as I understand it, maybe this is wrong, they're going like 6,000 miles an hour as opposed to the 17,500 or 22,000 miles an hour that you would be going if you were bringing in payloads from space. So yeah, you've got ablative shielding, but I forget what the difference is, but it's something like the amount of heating and cooling that you're going to have to do to protect it is something like 3 times higher for orbital than it is for suborbital. Is that taken into account? Because, I mean, the velocity is a big deal. It's not altitude, it's speed, right? Speed is what destroys you here. So you could be super low and you could be super high and super slow, and it's really easy to bring it in. You could, do no shielding if you're going at almost no speed. It's that velocity that's going to destroy you. So how do you slow these things down to the speed that an ICBM is going, which is going to be radically slower than something that's in space?
Oh yeah, so there's a lot of ways to, and of course for brevity I can't outline, like that's kind of 2 whole chapters from my book. But so another step I'm kind of skipping over here is when we build all the propellant and food production stuff in Earth orbit out of existing debris, we'd basically have small vehicles which I call proto-ballista, so something size of a volt, very small little thing, just kind of maneuver thrusters on board. So when we bring these materials back, we're not just like throwing them with an ore catapult from arrows. So it would kind of resemble a train. So we'd have like a nuclear thermal rocket on one end, attach, thousands of these ore bundles to it, fly back to Earth. It'd take a couple weeks. It would kind of park in high Earth orbit, almost like a warehouse here on Earth, but we'd have one in high Earth orbit. And then as individual people or companies buy, oh, hey, bundle 17, iridium, I could really use that here in Czech Republic. Here's $80 million, I'll buy it from you. Then a proto-ballista would grab it from high Earth orbit. It would kind of on purpose slowly bring it down to, it would adjust the speed, all that stuff. And once we have propellant in space, which that's a big part of my plan, that's all of chapter 4, we can have kind of a little taxi system. So we'd have a lot of things parked in high Earth orbit, and we'd have a lot of these kind of small little ferry, autonomous vehicles, kind of basically the same technology as a Predator drone on Earth, but with, small nuclear propulsion. So we would on purpose slow it down, bring it into LEO, kind of drop it off, and then those vehicles would just accelerate back up to high Earth orbit. And since we'd have propellant from asteroids in high Earth orbit, we'd be able to, now we couldn't do that because the cost of lifting the propellant up would be extreme. But we'd have a lot of propellant in high Earth orbit, so it'd be more like tugboats in a large harbor. So we'd have big ocean-going ships come in, the little tugboats running it into the harbor, slowing it down, getting it to the right speed. We might have to shift them, like you guys on your program were talking about. We just postponed a launch 4 times. There'd be issues like that if there was a hurricane. But we'd have those resources in high Earth orbit to handle those.
Heading over to a chat room, Kay McCoy asks or states, on Earth, resource extraction has a long history of companies ignoring externalities in search of profit. What kind of similar challenges might exist here? Accidentally redirecting asteroids into collision with Earth, pollution of potential future research sites. Basically, what happens if you let companies just go amok with no restrictions whatsoever out in space?
Well, yeah, and I talk about this a lot in my book. So a friend of mine had this funny way of saying it. He said that this would not be the Wild West of space. So of course there would still be law. The Federal Aviation Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency. It's not like just people doing whatever they want in space. That would be a wonderful thing for NASA. Imagine if NASA did safety inspections. If they had some kind of EPA, they kind of checked all the ore bundles before they entered the Earth's atmosphere. God forbid somebody had like uranium on an ore bundle and something went wrong and it broke up. That would be terrible. So yeah, NASA could inspect them all before they came in. I'm not opposed to government space. I'm not an anarchist or anything. But yeah, just on Earth, the government didn't make cars illegal. They just had a Department of Transportation to regulate cars. So yeah, like NASA and ESA should kind of transition into hey, 30 space companies, you guys go and make money and do great things. And yeah, we're just going to kind of, you have to fill out paperwork, we'll inspect you, et cetera. And for pollution, that's kind of the biggest reason for my idea. Rare earth metal mining is terrifying amounts of, there's whole regions of China that there's no human life in them. Because if you extract like neodymium and some of these really exotic elements, they have a lot of really bad poisonous stuff. They need thousands of gallons of water to dilute it. So all that stuff would be done on an asteroid 100 million kilometers away. That's where all the messy mining and refining would be done. All that would land on Earth is just one solid bar of neodymium.
Off of YouTube, Cody is asking about some propulsion technology, saying, couldn't solar sail technology also be helpful for travel? Because, again, getting nuclear power up there, nuclear prop, is going to be difficult. Does solar sails offer any sort of propulsion advantage up there? Is it just too large, too small, too little thrust?
Yeah, so for my book, I specifically... And I talk a lot about nuclear thermal rockets in my book. Solar sails are fine, and not to sound like a cop-out answer, but I'm advocating that people and companies be free to go to space. So this is not so much like, oh, I figured it out and everyone has to do it this way. I would envision a place where people are, so if you want to buy a mine, a 21 Lutetia probably has a lot of very expensive stuff on it. If you're comfortable with the time versus cost, if you're a small company, you don't have a lot of money, maybe you do want to bring a solar cell up there, and you're comfortable waiting, 17 years, whatever the math works out to be, to get to 21 Lutetia and bring it back. And you're comfortable with that, that's fine. If another company wants to spend maybe 10 times more, get like a really good nuclear thermal, or even the more exotic designs like a solid core, gas core, solid core, liquid core nuclear thermal rocket, and get there in 2 years, I think that the market forces would, just as on Earth, when you go to Europe, you take a tugboat, or do most people get on an airplane? Well, they get on an airplane. It's much faster. That'd be a hassle to take 8 days to get to London from New York. So I think market forces would push people in the direction of, faster. We'd even create, there's probably stuff that no one's imagined today that we would create if you could, buy one of Jupiter's moons and fly there. That creates a big market incentive to get faster and faster propulsion. That's how we did it on Earth. But yeah, you'd be free to have a solar, if someone did the math and they wanted to, certainly could have a solar cell.
I want to buy one of Jupiter's moons just so I can say that I own one of Jupiter's moons. I think that would be really awesome.
Honestly, the price would go sky. Like everyone I tell this idea to is like, heck yeah, in a heartbeat, I would buy as much as I could.
It's like all those little companies were like, you can buy a star, which, by the way, no, you can't. They're not real. But, they make money even though it's not real. So people obviously want to buy parts of space. So there's clearly a market there because they're doing it. They're not doing it, but they think they're doing it. Rock Rancher from the chat room mentions that rare earth metals are expensive only because they're rare. Drop a ton each week from space and the price will fall almost as fast. So how do you compensate for taking something that has not a lot of inventory and then just adding a bunch of inventory to it?
So certainly, I didn't bring my econ textbook here with me, but of course what he said is correct. But keep in mind that those things are very they have value, which is not necessarily the same thing as money. So if we had more neodymium is used in a lot of windmills on Earth. Windmills are very expensive. Like I worked for GE, we had a windmill. So if we had 100 million tons of neodymium showed up tomorrow, the cost of wind technology on Earth would drastically hit the floor. So yeah, of course, neodymium, like right now, it's worth about $2,500 a kilogram. So yeah, if the price went down to, $80, if it went down a lot, and the company bringing in neodymium would have to figure that out. But yeah, then we'd have wind, you could have a huge wind farm every inch of this planet. So like steel, like when Carnegie, the Bessemer process, basically before the Bessemer process, steel was insanely expensive. It was only used for weapons, mostly weapons and cutlery. But after the Bessemer process, that's why we have these, skyscrapers that are 80 stories high, is because they figured out a way to make steel so cheaply. And the consumption of steel went up. It's not that we all stopped, Carnegie didn't go bankrupt doing that. He was one of the richest men on Earth because people started consuming the things at a higher rate. So yeah, we would just have, like rare earth metals would have to change their name because they wouldn't be rare. But they'd still have all their same physical. They'd be superconductive. They'd allow us to have, the touch pads on iPhones, super heat tolerances in airplane engines and power plants. There's a lot of amazing stuff we could do if they were more abundant. That would be for the shipping companies to figure out the math. That wouldn't be a huge problem.
Yeah, the chat room is screaming at me saying rare earth metals aren't actually rare. They're just very hard to extract. So yes, we know, but the concept is being able to pull these things, smelt them in space, and then bring them back in their already needed form, as opposed to having to do all of that on Earth, keeping the pollution out in space, and then just bringing back what you need to Earth itself. What is the number one thing holding this idea back?
I would say the awareness of voters, to be honest. So I brought this up. I don't want to name names. I brought this up with some influential people, and they were like, "Yeah, no one really cares about this, John. That's why we're not doing it." Which is fair. It's not a lot of people that understand the cost of the Outer Space Treaty. Imagine if I use this example a lot. Imagine if someone made airplanes illegal in 1903. Like nobody would care about that, right? No one would even know what an airplane is. Or today, if you made airplanes illegal, there'd be riots in the, Delta, Boeing, there'd be riots in the streets if we made airplanes legal. So because sadly, a lot of this technology was so new in the 50s and 60s and 70s when the Outer Space Treaty was passed, people really didn't think we could terraform Mars that quickly. The average person probably doesn't know how a nuclear thermal rocket works or what a gravimeter is. things like that. But if the average person did know those things and their congressman started to get pressure, yeah, there's very little political defense for that treaty. It's just that no one is going after it.
If people are interested in this idea and want to read more about it, where can they grab your book and where can they get more information from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is www.changingtheworlds.com. I have my own small YouTube channel where I have videos explaining it. My book is for sale on Amazon. You can also get my book from my website. I also have a pretty thorough PowerPoint. If you're just, broke college kid, it sounds cool. Feel free to look at my PowerPoint that I have on my website.
All right, and before we go into break, there are 5 standard questions that we ask all of our guests. There are no right or wrong answers to these. So first thing that pops into your mind. The first question is, Moon or Mars first?
I would give a cop-out answer and say that would be based on market forces, but probably the Moon first. There's probably more. It seems there's at least 300,000 tons of ice on the Moon, which would be pretty nifty to mine. Of course, the flight time is less to the Moon. Everything with investing is kind of like, what can I get right now? Like the 3-day plan will probably get more votes than the 3-year plan. So probably Moon.
Would you go?
Yes, absolutely.
When do you think humans will first land on Mars?
In my plan, it would be 10 years. If we revoke the Outer Space Treaty right now, it would take 10 years tops. And we basically send people for we do a lot of surveying with robots and UAVs, but we'd send a few ground teams to check out the really nice spots. And that would be pricey and complex, but again, we'd have a whole planet that we're looking to sell. So the $15 trillion that the investors would expect to make when Mars would be done, they'd be very comfortable spending $10 or $20 billion in the short term to ensure that goes smoothly.
When do you think humans will step foot on the Moon again?
Oh, we could do that. So in my plan, as soon as the Outer Space Treaty was signed, within a year, we would do that. The problem is how long it takes to get rid of the treaty.
And why space?
It really boggles my mind sometimes when you think of if you ever look at a map of the galaxy, and I don't even mean, or really the universe, like the Milky Way galaxy is this tiny little piece. So it's almost like we're a bunch of crabs in a bucket in the middle of the ocean. And just for whatever silly reason, nobody wants to climb out of this bucket. I think that's just ridiculous. I've done quite a bit of traveling on this planet. I circumnavigated the globe in 2011. It only took like 2 days of flying. It's an absurdly tiny little place that we live. And there's no reason to stay here other than, lack of imagination.
John, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to talk about your book, Changing the Worlds, and your plan for colonizing the solar system in our lifetime. It is very, very much so an interesting idea. A lot of forces that kind of push against it, but if we have the will to do it, it might actually just work.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And I have a Facebook group as well, so anyone's feel free to stop by there. Yeah, thanks, Ben. Appreciate having me on.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, comments from last week's show. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We've always looked to the stars. They guide us, give us comfort, help us find our way. We see ourselves out there. When we look up, it inspires us. And we long for something we don't yet know. We yearn to go there. So, we venture forth.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not.
Many think we stopped exploring. But we know our journey didn't end. We've only just begun.
Orion is functioning perfectly at this point.
Come with us and explore tomorrow.
Tomorrow continues with comments from last week's show, but before we get into that, a shout out to all of the patrons of Tomorrow who've helped to contribute to this episode. These are Escape Velocity patrons. They've contributed $10 or more to this specific episode. We also have our Orbital patrons. These are people who contributed $5 or more to this episode, and our Suborbital patrons. They're people who contributed $2.50 or more to this episode. To find out how you can help crowdfund the shows of Tomorrow and all the different rewards that each different level gets you, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. All right, Capcom, I'll hand it over to you for some of those comments.
All right, last episode, Orbit 10.38, we were talking. We were talking with Mars. We were talking with Lunaris, who have done Moon and Mars simulated living. There was a question or two in the chat room that I wanted to address really quickly. There wasn't any one in particular that stuck out exactly. Some people were asking how we were doing it. We were doing the time delay thing, and some of the audio issues that we were having. The time delay was for the crew actually on the simulation.
Right.
But we were having a live chat with their mission control, for lack of a better term. Actually, I think they called it mission control.
Yeah. So we did not do time delay for mission control because it would be Earth to Earth, but we did time delay anything that would be considered Earth to Mars.
Yes.
And we assumed at least a 20-minute single direction time delay trip, which is why most of those questions happened the week prior on our Twitter hashtag AskMars.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Just so in case, for those of you who were wondering, this first comment from Nico's Mind comes off of YouTube. Says, you can't call it Planet 10. You'd have to call it Planet 11 or 12 or higher, since we discovered other dwarf planets like Eris, more mass than Pluto, etc.
Yeah. How do we define a planet now, right? Because if Pluto's a planet,
here comes the hard question.
Yeah, no, I know, right? Because we get into this whole thing about Pluto's a planet. And I always did that just because I grew up with Pluto as a planet, and so I just thought it would.
That's because you're old.
Just because I'm old. So then I gave Jared a hard time because that's the thing. But then if you consider Pluto to be a planet, that opens up a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, you got to consider Eris to be a planet. You got to consider Makemake to be a planet. You got to consider 2007 OR10, Haumea, Qua'ar, Sedna, Orcas.
No, you have to do the whole list.
He opened Wikipedia for this.
MS4, Ceres, Salacia, 2013, FY27.
No, we've got time. Keep going.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. That was a joke. Thank you, Doka Daka in the chat room. Ben is wrong. Yeah.
Rule number 5, people. Rule number 5
doesn't exist. So, which is unfortunate. So, by those definitions,
I mean, the International Astronomical Union definition of a planet is very controversial because it does seem like it was intended to aim at Pluto, punishing it for the discovery of other things like Eris. But Alan Stern's proposal that he put out earlier this year wasn't particularly great either, because it just basically defines anything with hydrostatic equilibrium, or basically enough mass that it pulls it into a sphere to make it a planet. That just doesn't work, because then you make moons planets, and it just becomes a complete mess. And I really feel like we're not going to have a solid definition of a planet until we're able to resolve exoplanets. That's really when it's going to become, because a lot of the planets that we're finding as exoplanets currently are radically different from the way our own solar system looks at. And that's not because of bias from the instruments that we're looking at. We can detect things down to the size of Mercury now. We're just finding things that are lying somewhere between super Earth and mini Neptune that range somewhere between 1.5 to 6 to 7 masses of the Earth. And we don't really have anything like that here in our own solar system to study up close and particularly well in order to quantify that and then develop a rigid set of criteria that comes out of that. So I feel like this is going to be a debate that's going to happen for at least the next 15 to 20 years, simply because it's not going to change until we can actually resolve exoplanets, actually study them in great detail, and then we're going to have to go, okay, this is what other planets are like around other stars, compare it to our solar system, and then go from there to make a a definition that everyone can agree on.
Sure.
So this is one of those debates that everyone's going to be breathing back and forth on each other for a very long time about it.
All right,
So,
a couple live comments from the chat room. One from YouTube. Chad asks, why can't a moon be a type of a planet?
a moon cannot be a type of a planet because a moon is not. It's not orbiting around the star by itself. It's within the gravitational influence of a object that is already going around that star. So if you want to call it a planet, that's fine, but you're going to have a lot of planets to go with that. So you're going to have, just in our own solar system alone, if you were going to include dwarf planets, moons, and major planets, we're going to have something on the order of 250 planets. Plus to classify because we're always discovering new moons.
That's going to make that rhyme that you learned in like first grade really long.
It really is. It really is.
My very eccentric mother.
No.
All right. Next question, Jason519 from the chat room. How many more steps on the Space Telescope ladder do we need to climb to resolve exoplanets?
A lot. There's some ideas of how you can do it. One of the ideas, make a bigger telescope. Not only do you collect more light, you get more resolving power, which that's really what it's all about. Can you actually see details small enough to actually do that with an exoplanet? But one of the major problems of looking at exoplanets is that they are usually very close to their astronomically speaking, very close to their star. And the majority of the light that you get is completely blown out by the actual star itself. So one of the proposals that's actually being done at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory here in the LA area is that they actually want to fly what they call a star shade out in front of your telescope. So basically like this big light blocker that flies in formation with your telescope. So then you can actually cover up the light from the star, but still have it far away enough that it's not covering up the light coming from the exoplanet. So that's one way that you can actually do that.
We just need to crack the light speed barrier and send humans over there.
I mean, we could do that too. So
that seems
everybody
easy.
jump in your physics courses and get it started now. So
YouTube is laughing at us for lol back to this. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that username, but lol back to this conversation. Yeah, it's going to it's going to come up because it's a hard question. It's hard, right? It's not as black and white as it was when I was in school, right?
Yeah.
In school, it was like these are the planets. Because we say so.
And then it wasn't necessarily because we say so. It's because we didn't know that there was an actual population of bodies further out than Neptune. It was proposed, but we didn't have the instrumentation to allow us to actually see it. And then once the 80s and 90s rolled around and we were able to start doing that, that's when things started to change very radically in how we were thinking about what makes a planet a planet. So it wasn't just because this is the way it is. It was because this is all we know at the moment.
The more you learn, the less you know?
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that?
So
all right.
I thought I knew everything, and then I went to school. So.
Capcom, move us forward here.
All right. So this goes back. This takes a little bit of explanation. So this is orbit 10.39 and 10.37. We were talking about the National Space Council.
Right.
And this, there was a comment that somebody had about that show that ended up that we featured in 10.38. And then this person, Brandon Mark, is replying to that comment originally from Occupied Duna.
This is very Inception.
I know it is in 1039. So if that makes any sense here, so first we'll go with Brandon Mark is quoting Occupied Duna saying, "quote In order to really improve the value/cost, you need to find a way to cut costs. The barrier to boots on the moon and Mars is not public support; it's cost. Until a solution is found that enables these truly exciting activities at a lower cost, we will see the same pattern of stagnation and periodic redirection in NASA's human spaceflight program." Then, Brandon Mark says in reply to that, saying, "I see three solutions that will do exactly this. More fixed price contracts where possible. 2, reusable rockets. And 3, in-orbit refueling. Good news is the first 2 are already underway and becoming more quote-unquote normal each year. Get the last one going and we'll enable some amazing stuff."
Space Mike, I'll pass that one over to you.
Well, I think that he's exactly right. I mean, I agree with everything that Brandon Mark said in response to Occupy Duna's comment. And to kind of go off on that and expound on that just a little bit more, I feel like doing fixed price contracts, milestone-based fixed price contracts, for all the different things that we want to do in space, whether it be space telescopes, space probes, interstellar space probes. I think that might even be another cool way that we could start confirming the whole exoplanet question. And doing, sorry, I know that's a kind of a far out thing, but I just agree with everything that Brandon Mark says. And with the whole in-orbit refueling thing, there is so many different possibilities, especially with all these different flavors of engines that we're going to be using, that we could be extracting the resources right here in our own solar system and being able to expand out right here for quite some time. And I feel like the more that NASA is able to kind of be more frugal with their money and their contracts and try to get things done, or the contractor loses their money for it and might even have some sort of fines or fees that they have to pay for it, more things will happen, especially if we have things like if the National Space Council keeps their promises in trying to have programs survive from administration to administration. So all I can say is I hope so. I hope it all works out this way.
Well, I mean, it seems like the commenter said, the first two are already happening. Fixed price contracts, we saw that with COTS, the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services, is what COTS stood for, I believe.
That proved that it can work.
And it did. And it seemed like they got like 2 new rockets, 2 new spaceships, and the ability to fly cargo to the space station for a lot less money than before, and reusable rockets. We're seeing multiple companies working on that, right? It's the big players you've heard of before, SpaceX and Blue Origin, but also the smaller players like Maston Space Systems, and even to another extent, Virgin is working on stuff like that. Yeah, in-orbit refueling, it seems like that's all the rage as well. So a lot of these things are happening. It's kind of a cool time to be alive.
Yeah.
To be alive. All right, Capcom, move us forward.
All right. Looks like this last comment comes.
The hologram has gone to bars.
Oh no.
Whoops.
Bars. All right. Well, the next comment comes off of Twitter. It's actually a response to Jared, your Tabby Star extra news item. Well,
this is what happens. I'm not saying it's aliens, but aliens.
Okay. Cramped Eyes off of Twitter says, "So says you." He says, "But in seriousness, a Dyson swarm is expected to emit infrared light. It would overheat if it didn't." That is not a single thing that I can even remotely speak to. So, Jared, I'm just going to have to let you.
All right. So the Dyson swarm.
Yes.
Let's back up and explain what's going on there.
Sure.
All right. So, Tabby Star, very interesting object that we are looking at out in the universe. It's a star that's dimming irregularly. If you were looking at like an exoplanet or something, the curve, the dip in the light would be proportional. It'd be very nice, unless it's on some kind of weird orbit. Then it may, speed up a little bit, but we don't really see much like that. Tabby Star, it's like whoa, 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 and it's like whole percentages.
How's that like again, Jared?
It's like whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm sorry, I missed that. One more time.
Whoa, whoa.
All right, thanks. That's great.
And it's whole percentages of the light. And Tabby Star has been dimming progressively over the past century of data that we have, and other things like that. And there was a proposal that was written about 2 years ago from someone that said if it was a Dyson swarm, these are the type of light signatures that you should be getting from it. And everyone saw that and went, they think it's a Dyson swarm. They're looking for a Dyson swarm, which is a big collection of satellites that would be collecting solar power for a civilization that could be there theoretically, hypothetically, however you want to put it. But no, it's not. Because that signature is not there. And you would have to dump so much heat out of those spacecraft, because if they're getting direct light, that's a lot of heat, and you got to handle that load somewhere, and you got to drop it off and get it off of the spacecraft that would be taking in this energy. And you would be able to see that. That would be very, very obvious, and that's literally what the study said. The study said that if it was a Dyson sphere, or Dyson swarm, or whatever you want to call it, it would have been immensely visible in the infrared wavelengths. I mean, like, ground-based infrared telescopes should be able to see it piece of cake, but it's not. It's not there. That whole study was basically saying this is what it would look like, and we're not seeing that, so it's not this. So, and people have taken it and run with it, and it's just ridiculous with the amount of, it's very clearly it's aliens. You scientists, in all of your time, in doing what you've done have no clue what you're actually talking about. Well, my comment on Reddit is far superior to anything Tabby has ever done in her career. It's just like, shut up. If you don't know what you're talking about, it doesn't help.
That Redditor had to enter a CAPTCHA in order to create that account.
I know, it's an actual person.
It's a real person.
So that's the scary part about it. But this has been like burning me just so much on the inside, because this is not how science works whatsoever. You can have wild speculation about anything you absolutely want to about regards to what Tabby's star is, but Tabitha, who's doing the actual studies on this, has an immense amount of data, an immense volume to all of this work, and it's been done for over 2 years. They update every week on their blog. All of the data is there, and it's yours to go out and disprove if you would like to. But nobody is stepping up to the plate. Everybody always wants to say that it's aliens, but nobody is actually putting the money to the laboratory in order to prove that it's actually aliens. So if you want to prove that it's actually aliens, write a proposal, get the funding, do the experiment, and then publish your actual results from your experiment with that. It just drives me nuts that nobody wants to do that. They just would rather comment on it with everything.
Go ahead, Space Mike.
Jared, can you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah, no kidding.
It's so like just seeing all the things. Oh, well, it was an interstellar war. That's why the dust is there. No, just stop.
Two things, Jared.
It makes me wonder, you know how the sun in a couple of billion years is going to grow larger to the point that it's going to engulf Mercury and Venus and possibly even Earth's orbit? Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder if there was some sort of, like, let's say a gas giant-sized planet or something like that broke up, instead of just being completely sucked in all at once, like kind of created like a debris field, like a multiple ring system or something like that. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's what we're seeing. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the ideas.
How can we explain this naturally?
Is that as Carl Sagan, who was paraphrasing Laplace, said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence as well. And the burden of proof in the case of these claims is not on Tabby, because Tabby's putting all the data out there. The burden of proof is on the person making the claim. And that's a really important thing that a lot of people are not getting correct about when they start throwing and spitballing ideas to the wall for things. Because, I mean, that is how science is. We kind of throw it at the wall and see what sticks. But at the same time, we've got a very good methodology as to seeing what sticks on the wall as well. So, and it's very important to actually follow that methodology and do it correctly, because we've been doing that for over 400 years now, and it's not given us too bad results all the time. So.
All right, my two things. One, if you're burning up that much on the inside, shouldn't you be giving off more infrared then?
Yes, I should. Okay. I probably am using the infrared bright after that.
Just checking. And two, it's pronounced laboratory. Always.
Okay.
Laboratory. Laboratory.
Sure.
All right, that's our show. Although, so Space Mike did go to bars, and the chat room caught that. So Shaky said, it's full of bars. Thought that was a pretty good one. And then Kay McCoy came back with, so Space Mike walks into a color bar. Oh, I love the chat room. That is our show for this week. I did also want to say thank you to all of our ground support patrons. These are people who've contributed between $1 and $2.49. They get their name in the show, access to After Dark, and a bunch of other things. To find out how you can get your name in the show and help support Tomorrow, week after week, head on over to patreon.com/TMRO. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining us. Tomorrow, After Dark is up next. Slow dissolve. Did you want to, Carrie Ann has a headache. You want to go lay in a room that's dark? All right. Bye. Everyone say goodbye to Carrie Ann.
Bye, Carrie Ann. You did really great today.
What happened to W?
He had to leave at noon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Beforehand, I'm sorry.
Did you let him know that the show would go to noon?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, I assume if I'm quiet, I can just let myself out. I said, yeah.
Okay. That's too bad.
Assume that you can
I wanted
be
to talk to him after the show. I feel bad now.
Yeah. No.
Move.
Who's up first?
Decent show. So first off, I wanted to say shout out to Tars/Colton. Tars is the one who builds our chat room. We're running beta chat today. I had no drops, no no unexpected drops. Tars, you may see, or Colton, you may see my Ben Credible name pop out. That's because the iPad will go to sleep and I won't catch it. Then I'll have to wake it up. Then I have to log back in. So no drops in the beta chat whatsoever. It was buttery smooth for me this week. It was great. But in addition to that, he actually got the YouTube integration going. So now in our chat room, if you're on YouTube, we can see what you're saying on YouTube. Huzzah! If you're on Twitch, we can see what you're saying on Twitch. Huzzah! And if you're on the main chat room, we can see what you're saying in the main chat room. Huzzah! So that is pretty awesome. Actually, I just realized John is still with us. Watch this magic trick. It didn't work. Dada and I are not as in sync as I thought we once were. So John is still there. I did want to say goodbye to John and see if there were any final comments from him. But so wait, hang on. We'll remove that. We'll go. Boop. There we go. There we go. Whew. We're getting better. Getting better. That's all right. Oh, hey. And John is back.
There he is.
Hey, John. So I don't.
Sorry.
No, I forgot to mention in the show we can't hang up on you. So you are free to leave at any time. You don't need to hang out unless there's any last things you wanted to say. In the after dark is just not part of the main show. It's just us chatting about anything. Anything else that we didn't get to that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, geez, there's so many things. It's hard for me to pick one specific one. Oh yeah, actually one thing. It's kind of more of a political thing.
No, go ahead. That's all right.
Which I guess is not illegal. But another thing is kind of with Trump's presidency. You know, if we're ever going to do real estate development of this solar system, probably the best chance is when we have like a billionaire real estate developer in the White House. I pretty much finished my book right around the time of his election. So I don't have a big crush on Donald Trump or anything like that. But yeah, like the normal people that are president are, you know, kind of not. I mean, literally, my family's from Jersey City, and he has like a whole neighborhood down there that he took from like a vacant lot to like multi-million-dollar houses. And a big part of my idea is just, you know, we should just real estate develop Mars. It's just the same way we like, drain a swamp, put a bunch of condos there. Just going to terraform some planets, put a bunch of condos there. It's like exactly the same stuff we do all the time. Just, you know, we'll have to make a new zip code for them.
John, the chat room is telling us, actually Dutta said, I don't know if it was live before the show, but apparently your website is not currently responsive, just so you know.
Really?
So people want to go there to get things, and maybe we crashed your website. I'm sorry.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, let me figure that out.
All right, cool. All right, the chat room is back and forth on blah, blah. Tomorrow is too strong. And actually, a few people missed your information, like they're asking what's the Earl and things like that. So once again, where can people go for picking up your book, more information on you? You mentioned you had a Facebook page. Like, where can they get more information on changing the world?
Yeah, so if nothing else, my book's on Amazon, which has its own separate thing. So if you just go on Amazon and type in Changing the Worlds or John Amabile, Changing the Worlds, they can directly buy my book. It's also, there's an e-version of my book too. And then on Facebook, if you just look up groups, Changing the Worlds, and sometimes it comes up better if you type John Amabile, Changing the Worlds. And finally, YouTube. If you go on YouTube and you type in John Amabile, Changing the Worlds on YouTube, I basically have each chapter of my book. I have a YouTube video for them, just with brief explanations, photos.
That's where we grabbed those photos from. And the chat room is giving me endless crap for calling it an URL instead of URL. I do that a lot, by the way, for those who don't know me very well. So HDMI, I'll call Hitimi.
My favorites.
I'll say Hitimi. Yeah. I'll say URL. SDI, I'll say City. Just because it's so ridiculous. So Earl Grey hot. Yeah, no, I do that all the time, so I know what I'm doing. GIF. I'll just say GIF, just because no one else would ever pronounce it that way.
And finally, my the email address I use for everything for my book is just terraforming101 gmail.com. So anyone's free to just shoot me an email on there if they have questions as well.
Very interesting. How do you feel about O'Neill cylinders and large kind of standalone colonies that could be placed in Lagrange points?
Oh, yeah. So Lagrange points are a big part of my book. Also, it's kind of funny with O'Neill cylinders. People don't think of it this way, but as you mine an asteroid, like on Earth, what a mine really is you're hollowing out something. So, like, all the time we use abandoned mines for stuff on this planet. So absolutely, like if you go to 21 Lutetia or 16 Psyche, like the most valuable asteroids in the solar system, as when after we've done making, some amount of money that we don't have a word for, it would be so much stuff. But yeah, when you're done, you'd have an O'Neill cylinder. I mean, it's kind of funny. That would be a byproduct of mine. All we're doing is hollowing out asteroids for profit. So when we're done, we can sell them and a little bit of add some lights. Kind of make it like get an interior decorator in there, make it look kind of more snazzy. But yeah, absolutely, we'd be making
an orbit around something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well,
I'm just reading through the chat room, seeing if there's anything else. No, I think that's wrapping it up on your side, John. We still have to do some more news for this week's show. So unless you've got anything else, we'll give you your Saturday back. And once again, thank you. It was much more stable this week. We could clearly hear you. It was delightful. It was a great interview. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I appreciate you redoing it so that we could struggling through audio issues on a show sucks. So I really appreciate you picking a new date so we could actually get the technology worked out. All right, thank you. If you want to hang up, we can't really hang up on our side, but you're free to just hang out if you want. Otherwise, there's no requirement for that whatsoever. Feel free to just hit the end call button. You and Space Mike have some news, and I need to figure out how to do those. Let's see here.
The basic.
Yeah, I see him.
And I updated them so that you should.
Let's do it with all three of us again. Okay. And I started this last week, and then Dutta spanked me, but I don't really care. I just started calling them space pods again because I think that just makes more sense. And for those wondering, he's like, well, are we charging people? It's like, no, you'd see that on Patreon if we were doing that. We're just calling them space pods because I feel like they kind of fit that format a little bit better, and I like the naming convention.
I get it.
Yeah, cool. So I'll probably refer to them as a space pod.
Is that still there?
Why are you funny?
I didn't take the inappropriate joke during the show.
I missed it. Yes?
We were talking about 3 seconds of thrust.
Is that the shirt for the show?
No, because I didn't take it.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to need...
Oh. I'm so confused right now.
Bigelow.
Woo!
Oops, there went the screen. Oh, it's back.
Yeah, it's because I stepped on the media converter.
There you go. Thanks, Dutta.
Look at me, Jared.
The video, the 6-second video, and how it was only 3 seconds worth of thrust. And you were like, well, you'd only need 3 seconds. You get a lot of data out of that.
You do.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to disagree with that.
No, but I didn't take the joke of, some people only need 3 seconds of thrust. That's all right for some people. Like, that's enough for some.
engineers, it's enough.
Oh, well, apparently.
Wow.
It just depends on how many channels you have and what the sample rate is.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Well, as Cody says, it's not how long the thrust is, it's how you use it.
That's true. As long as you've got it at the correct angle.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's not my experience at all.
Like if you'd be doing it at apogee or perigee, are we changing planes?
See, this is why I didn't take it during the regular show, because I knew if I said something like that, the whole news section. I'm already getting criticized on YouTube for not keeping the boys on track. Somebody said that I keep them off track, and somebody else responded and said that the only reason I talk is to keep them on track. I was like, thank you. Not that you guys get off track. You're fine. I'll be quiet now.
Just don't have any pogo happen. That'd be really
I love you. I did stop after naked, by the way.
That's pretty much where I'm sure everybody was at.
It was so funny.
So
okay.
Yeah, I realized as I sent that tweet, and I went, nobody's probably going to read that one. So.
Nope, I did.
Cody had a pretty funny comment on YouTube, kind of going back a little bit, which is, I found the plot for the new Austin Powers film, Dr. Evil gets into space real estate. That would actually be kind of funny. There was someone else on YouTube who was said hi from India, and I think is a first-time viewer, but I've lost your comment, so I'm sorry. But,
hi, India.
But hello, India. I know it was back there a little ways, and
Thank you.
there you go. Let's see here. All right, so we've got a couple news items. Space Mike, you want to start with you, or do you need a minute? You good?
No, I'm good.
All right. All right, here's number one.
You said you don't need For those of you who couldn't hear me, I said, you said you don't need that, because I do that every freaking week. And then he goes, I don't need that. No, just go whenever you're ready.
And also for those that are wondering, that is Ben's kill you face.
You must be literally biting your tongue right now, because you don't keep that face that serious.
So I don't need it when we reset the cameras in such a way that we're clearly on a different shot.
Obviously.
This week we didn't do that. I have all of us on set.
Okay, cool. You're going to need it now, because I just screwed up your take one.
Cody says that we have broken Jared.
It honestly doesn't take a lot. So.
Love you.
And as Colton says, Ben is having fun with the new YouTube chat bridge. I am. It has changed the show. Chat is super important to the show. All right. I just lost my spot.
Although the youtube.com/TMRO link is like terribly low resolution and the color is weird.
Oh, yeah. We should probably get that fixed.
Jared.exe has stopped responding.
Jared has a laughter buffer overflow. Johnny Boy says, I love Jared's laugh. Okay. Factor, if tomorrow has a chat bridge, where's 10 forward? That's actually... I see what you did there. All right. Ready?
Soma Bar's coming soon.
Yeah, it is coming soon. All right. Ready, Jared?
Yeah, I'm good. So.
All right. Now, that's still number one. We never got into one. We never got one. All right.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, but it doesn't help when you stare at him like that, because you're just adding to it. Just saying.
Go over there. Go over there. Jesus Christ. Pete's sake. Mute his microphone. God. I promise we're a professional show. I promise.
Oh, man.
There, I fixed it.
Have you tried turning Jared on and off again?
That's a good one. That's from JK3 Farden. Have you tried turning him off and back on again? All right, here we go. Still number one. Ready, Mike? All right.
Yep.
For your Tuesday Space Pod, Space Mike's going to talk to us a little bit about United Launch Alliance. What you got going on, Space Mike?
Well, United Launch Alliance and Bigelow Aerospace have actually announced a further partnership that they have recently announced. And this has to do with Bigelow Aerospace's B330 expandable modules and United Launch Alliance's ACE's upper stage engine. I'm sorry, can we start over one more time? And
You betcha. Yep.
Right to the right as soon as you throw it to me.
Yeah, actually, let's see if we can do. I wonder if we could do a cold open on this somehow, like we used to with the space pods. No, we'll just go. No, that's too much. That's too big of a change this late in the game. So, all right. Ready? Here's number 2. Ready, Mike?
Okay. Yes.
Do you need a minute, or are you good?
No, I'm good.
Okay. This is your Tuesday Space Pod. Space Mike, you've got some news about United Launch Alliance and Bigelow.
Yeah, that's right. United Launch Alliance and Bigelow Aerospace have kind of announced a further concept that they have to further their partnership along. And what they want to do is launch a B330 expandable module on United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket. This launch would take place somewhere in 2022, and it would be outfitted in low Earth orbit first, and eventually go to a low lunar orbit and serve as a lunar depot. Eventually, what they want to do is they would first launch it in the Vulcan 562 configuration and test it out in low Earth orbit and work with their other commercial partners as well. Specifically, their partners like SpaceX and Boeing, and send some of their commercial crew vehicles. And I, for one, would love to see a crewed checkout flight with maybe a paying tourist on board to help pay for some of the expense of this mission. But once the B330 is fully operational, United Launch Alliance would launch 2 more Vulcan Aces upper stages, each carrying about 35 tons of cryogenic propellant to low Earth orbit. And once in low Earth orbit, all of the cryogenic propellant, they would rendezvous with each other, and all of the propellant would be transferred to one of those.
Sorry, Mike, I'm going to stop you. Sorry, Mike. I need you to raise your microphone up. When you're moving your arms, your microphone is scraping against your shirt, making a lot of this. And it's super distracting. No, it's all right. But since we have an opportunity here to reset, otherwise you were great. You were great. Maybe even higher. Bring it all. Can you? Not that it's really easy, but bring it up a good 3-4 inches. Yeah, there you go. Now get animated for me. And it's still there a little bit, but it's not as bad, right? Chat room, not as bad?
I'll try not to be so...
No, be animated. I liked you being animated. It was fine. It showed passion. It just, when you're getting this, you don't want to... You just don't... I mean, yeah, there's still something, but... move the mic for him. We're just...
Thanks.
Can you try to...
Yeah, that's a good point. Hang on. Let's run a high-pass filter at 100 hertz. Maybe 120. Where's his channel? Sorry, new audio board. Give me a minute. Go to EQ. Okay. EQ. There you go. We want to bring that all the way up to 100. I don't think he's already cutting off a bunch of stuff, and then I think we need to enable it. So we can probably even go to 120. It might be a bit aggressive, but we'll find out. All right, Space Mike, talk for me again.
Let's see. So Bigelow Aerospace and United Launch Alliance are working together to send their B330 module.
Aggressively move your arms now.
So yeah, Bigelow Aerospace and United Launch Alliance are planning on sending their own commercial lunar space station.
That's great.
And it's going to be awesome.
All right, so chat room, I was really aggressive with the high pass filter. I brought it up higher than I normally would, but I feel like the Skype connection's already pulling out a lot of that audio. Does that seem his voice? I'm not taking out too much of it. I'm not taking out too much of his speaking range, right? It still seems nice.
Everything sounded pretty good.
Yeah. I feel like that sounds good too. All right. Cool. All right, great. I'm sorry, Space Mike. I know you were doing really well, but audio is very important, and I wanted to make sure we got this right. So.
No, it's all right.
Take number 3, and actually let's leave that filter in place, and let's make sure we apply it to the guest channel as well.
By the way, this new audio board has all kinds of nifty little tricks, and the audio clarity is amazing compared to the old one.
So the audio clarity is nearly identical between the two. The difference is it's much easier for us to edit in C equalizer settings, as well as we've got an auto mix that occurs. So it's automatically moving priority from mic pack to mic pack, which is transparent to you. You don't have to touch it. So it's shutting down elements that don't need to be open, which makes it just sound cleaner, because then you don't have like 3 mic elements right next to each other that are open. Also, I turned on a super aggressive compressor. So, I was like, screw it, turn it to 11. All right.
The compressor is taking out the clips.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does a lot better job than the other one did.
There's nothing I can do about my mic pack. It is what it is. I have been moving it onto my lap. I've been doing a bunch of stuff. I just can't until
that'll be fixed when you get the new.
It will be. Let's get into this and then I'll talk about audio in a minute. All right. So Space Mike, here we go. This is take number 3. I'm going to do a huge Kermit flail myself because I need to know that this is the real one here. All right. This is your Tuesday Space Pod. We've got Space Mike, who's going to be talking. Yeah.
Stop.
How about a Tuesday Space Pod? Space Mike, you've got United Launch Alliance and Bigelow Aerospace doing something. What's going on there?
Just try it again without the accent. I want to give you a very offensive Jersey accent so bad, but I'm going to refrain. You suck.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I feel like that should be the Space Pod.
What was up with that accent there? You're just like, yeah, we've got a Tuesday Space Pod. What's up, Space Pod? We got things going on in space and things.
I like how it just shut you down too. You couldn't even function. You just went.
It's the Tuesday Space Pod.
This is why you watch live. This is why you watch live.
What kind of Mickey Mouse operation?
Oh
is
my
that?
God. Oh, she's going down. All right.
All right. We're very serious people.
All right, here we go. All right, this is your Tuesday Space Pod. Space Mike, you've got United Launch Alliance and Bigelow Aerospace. What's going on over there?
So Bigelow Aerospace and United Launch Alliance, who have announced a partnership for a while, what they want to do is launch a B330 expandable module on the Vulcan rocket. And what they want to do with this is they want to outfit it first in low Earth orbit and then send it into low lunar orbit by the end of 2022 to serve as a lunar depot. So the B330 would launch into low Earth orbit on the Vulcan 562 configuration. And once in orbit, Bigelow Aerospace would outfit the habitat and demonstrate that it's working properly. This would also be able to be a good opportunity to work with their other commercial partners like SpaceX and Boeing. And I, for one, would love to see a crewed checkout flight with maybe a paying tourist on board to help pay for the expense of this entire mission. Now, once the B330 is fully operational in low Earth orbit, United Launch Alliance would have 2 more missions where they would launch Vulcan Aces upper stages. Each one would have about 35 tons of cryogenic propellant on board. Now, once these are in orbit, they would rendezvous with each other, and all of the cryogenic propellant would be transferred to one of the ACES upper stages, or advanced cryogenic evolved stages. And the full ACES upper stage would then rendezvous with a B330 module and perform multiple maneuvers once they were able to mate, or rather dock with the B330, and transfer it into its final position in low lunar orbit. And this could be if done correctly, this could be a game changer. This commercial lunar station could provide an anchorage for all sorts of different lunar business that is in development right now. In addition to having NASA and other governments have a new location to conduct long-term exploration and astronaut training. Pretty much this could be either taking part in or take the place of the Deep Space Gateway concept. Either way, this idea could really capitalize on the current lunar momentum going on right now. Now, I really hope that Bigelow and United Launch Alliance, with their own Cislunar 1000 ambitions, will build all of the pieces of this and launch it without the need for NASA to pay for it along the way, like a fixed price contract. That United Launch Alliance and Bigelow Aerospace will do it themselves and then later have NASA as a customer once it exists. Now, a single B330 module is comparable to about 1/3 the current pressurized inside volume of the International Space Station, and Bigelow Aerospace is building 2 of these modules right now, of these B330 modules, and they've said that they could be ready for launch anytime after 2020. And even though that's still a little less than 3 years away, it's still really exciting. This is something that they have been working for many years, and having this partnership with United Launch Alliance could change everything. And I really hope that they are able to push forward with this and that this becomes a real space station.
You seem pretty excited, Mike. All right, thank you.
I just like these ideas. I want to go to all the places. I want to go to Mars, don't get me wrong, but I want to go to the moon first and stop off on those places.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if it's 1/3 you said 1/3 the volume, 1/3 or 1/4 the volume of the space station?
Pretty much 1/3 the volume of the International Space Station, with just one module.
Yeah, you just need a common docking collar kind of in the middle, a common collar, and then you drop 3 or 4 of them in a circle, and you've got, I guess, more usable volume than the International Space Station. You could do quite a few things. It'd be really cool.
Oh, yeah. And if this was part of the Deep Space Gateway, I mean, there's already a node module that has 4 to 6 docking ports on it for, additional modules to be part of the Deep Space Gateway. Dock 2 of these B330 modules to the Deep Space Gateway, and boom, we have something that's almost the same size as the International Space Station. So, at least on the inside for the astronauts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. All right, so for our last show, tomorrow, Orbit 10.39, we had John Amabile on talking about how we can colonize our solar system in one lifetime. Check that out. Otherwise, we've got live shows every Saturday at 1800 Coordinated Universal Time. I forgot to do the whole like and subscribe BS that we should be doing. All right, thank you, Mike. I'm going to roll your hologram out of the shot now.
That's all right. Good job. That was a good one.
We got through it. We got through it.
You did it.
We did it.
Right.
Oh my God! There goes Space Mike. Oh my God!
Ripped into the darkness of Station 2.
Well, actually, I think I'm going to go, because it's almost 12:45 here, and I am starving. I haven't eaten anything yet.
Go eat food, Space Mike.
And water, so.
Thank you for all your time and talent. It was awesome. And then, when does Tiangong splash down?
Anytime between now and I think they were saying April of next year.
All right,
so it'll be a couple of months.
Yeah, let's add that into a news story sometime. Either probably a space pod coming up sometime soon here. Then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good one.
See you, Mike.
All right, sounds good.
Bye.
See you later.
Could you look more constipated? Really? I think that's how you.
No, it's called chinning. It's actually a new Instagram fad.
Chinning? What?
Chinning.
Chinning is a.
Instead of a selfie.
I feel like I did that for years. Ah.
No, just having a double chin doesn't count.
Oh, I thought it did. I thought that's what we were talking about here. All right. You going to be able to do this?
Are you?
Yes. Of course I am. So.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, your space pod for Thursday. We've got Jared on. You were spreading rumors.
Yeah, I was.
And you ended up being right.
Yeah. You know what's really nice? Being correct about things. You know what's even better? Spreading rumors and still being correct about it. So, hey, that's pretty good, right? So, a couple of weeks ago on the show, we did a space pod about rumors coming from the Laser Interferometry Gravitational Wave Observatory, LIGO, and Virgo, possibly detecting 2 neutron stars colliding with each other. Well, guess what? The confirmation came. Yep, we actually detected the gravitational wave from them. And the gravitational wave was detected on August 17th by LIGO in Hanford, Washington, and Livingston, Louisiana. They have 2 detectors at LIGO. And it was also detected by the Virgo gravitational wave detector in Europe. Now, it was determined that we were detecting the final seconds of 2 neutron stars orbiting around each other just before they collided. Those neutron stars, they're the cores of stars that went supernova but didn't have enough mass to create a black hole. And these neutron stars, they're roughly the size of a city, just about 16 to 20 kilometers across. And if you pulled a teaspoon's worth of material out of a neutron star, it would weigh more than Mount Everest. So this right here is a great use of the data by Georgia Tech, showing you the neutron stars colliding and the gravitational waves on the right side right there as they come out of the neutron stars. Now, what was so cool about this gravitational wave detection is that the previous ones, as you see in this here from the University of Oregon, were seconds long. They didn't actually last all that long. They were momentary blips in time, if you will. But this gravitational wave detection of the 2 neutron stars colliding, it lasted for nearly 60 seconds. This was a very long chirp involved with these gravitational waves. Now, these 2 neutron stars that collided, they had different masses. One was 1.6 times the mass of our sun. The other was 1.1 times the mass of our sun. They were approximately 130 million light years away in the galaxy NGC 4883. And if we listen close enough to the video that we have right here, we should be able to hear a quick chirp from it. Any second. It is. There you go. That was the chirp that we got from it. So a very interesting one. Now, unlike the previous observations of gravitational waves, the passing of these was highlighted by the detection of gamma rays from the European Space Agency's Fermi Space Telescope, and only mere seconds after the gravitational waves were detected. So someone in the comments on our Rumor Space Pod actually asked if gravitational waves travel at the speed of light. And this detection of light 2 seconds after the gravitational wave tells us that they do travel at the speed of light, arriving first. This is, yes again, another proof that Einstein's theory of general relativity is correct. So with LIGO and Virgo's gravitational wave detection and Fermi's gamma ray detection, scientists actually narrowed down the location almost immediately where this gravitational wave occurred. And within several hours, we had over 70 ground-based telescopes and 7 space-based telescopes aimed and observing NGC 4883. And this right here is the actual data from the Hubble Space Telescope that we saw in visible light. Now, the amount of data that we gathered on the single event is immense, and we're literally going to be working with this data for the next few years. But one of the most surprising initial findings in the data isn't just that we can now capture optical counterparts or actual witnessing of the event that caused the gravitational wave. It isn't that we've finally seen 2 neutron stars colliding directly in an event that we call a kilonova, which we've seen before back in 2013. What astounded us is that we saw the generation of heavy elements that we find here in the universe. This is not a cherry on top for the observation. This is like if you ordered a regular hot fudge sundae and you got like 6 massive banana splits to come with it as well. It's not that we didn't understand the mechanisms that generate heavy elements in our universe. It's just that we've never really seen the process, which is called nucleosynthesis, occur directly for our instrumentation. Most of the time that occurs in the core of a star or the dead remnants of a supernova. We've never actually seen the initial event that kicks that off. And in fact, this event, these 2 neutron stars colliding, made 16,000 times the mass of the Earth in heavy elements, including gold and platinum to the tune of 10 times the mass of the Earth. So now we have an answer to this. 2 neutron stars colliding do generate heavy elements. This is something that was predicted in studies that were released about 5 years ago, and now we have the confirmation that our studies were correct. So an incredible amount of data was gotten, not just with gravitational waves, not just with optical counterparts, but also with the formation of the heavy elements that we see in the universe. So fascinating that we got all of this out of one event happening.
So live chat room has some comments.
Sure.
So Green Jim says you need a bloody strong teaspoon then if you're going to pull it out with the weight of Mount Everest on it.
Yeah.
That would be this less of a question, more of a comment. But from YouTube, would you get a black hole if two heavy enough neutron stars collided?
Actually, yes, you should be able to. But those neutron stars need to have masses in double digits that of our sun. So yeah, you actually could get a black hole if two neutron stars collided with each other. And also, if you have a star that's about 8 times more massive than the sun, it's going to end up making a black hole. So a neutron star is basically a star that was not massive enough to make a black hole, but still massive enough to make a supernova, and that's basically the leftovers from the supernova. So awesome. So there were 2 very high mass stars that had supernovas, and the dead cores of those stars eventually found their ways to each other and gravitationally spiraled in on each other and collided, and that's what we saw.
I'm also very sad that this shot is ever so slightly too tight that you can't see your shoes. Lift your feet up. Your shoes are amazing. You've got like the universe on your shoes.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a lifestyle when you decide to do astronomy. So.
Thank you, Jared. That was absolutely fantastic. If you like these space pods as well as our live shows, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit all of the buttons on YouTube now. You need to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. It all really helps us. Every subscriber helps. Tell your family, tell your friends, get people watching the show. That would help us a great deal. And this last week on Orbit 1039, we talked to John Amabile about how we can colonize the solar system in our lifetime. So check that out. It's really, really cool. And thanks. That was a kind of shitty ending, but
It's pretty neat. Live shows.
Yeah. I mean, but I got the like and subscribe, so I just need to work on that and add stuff and things.
Yep.
It's good enough. Close enough. St. Alex, do they know the spin rate of the new neutron star?
No, we do not know the spin rate. Because the neutron stars are 130 million light years away, that kind of is a bit of a problem for figuring out the spin rate. Usually when we figure out the spin rate of a neutron star, what we're looking at is the radiation that's coming out of the magnetic field at the North and South Pole. And then that has to be aimed directly at us in order to see that. And then we don't call it a neutron star, we call it a pulsar, which is basically a rapidly rotating neutron star that does that, but that's aimed directly at us. So it's a long way answer the question. No, we don't know the spin rate. So we expect neutron stars to spin, but we don't know the rate simply because it's really far away. And it's really hard to figure out what the actual rate is if you don't have those North and South Pole beams of radiation coming off of the neutron star.
Kay McCoy, as a compliment for you, says, Jared Head, you are a great science communicator. This was a fantastic space pod. Clearly presented, enthusiastic, jargon explained, nicely done.
Thank you, Phil.
I agree. And Astro, something. Great summary, Jared.
Thanks. This was a really big thing, you know. And there were like 3 major things that were knocked out in one event. So this is a pretty big deal. I don't want to say that this would win a Nobel Prize just by itself, but LIGO and Virgo are just doing such incredible work together. It's amazing. So.
All right, so, and I do want to just really quickly, because they said they couldn't see your shoes very well.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hang on, I'm gonna, because they are all sorts of fantastic. They're magical. There you go.
There you go.
Look how magical those are.
Aren't
Did
they
you
just
had
fantastic?
those? You had those
Look at my
custom made.
shoes. So.
Did you custom make those, or did they?
So my parents know me very well, and I always wanted.
They don't
Vans.
compare to mine. Mine are boring.
So I always wanted. So Vans, the shoe company, made Galaxy shoes a couple years ago, but I wear size 13, which means that basically I have like 0 chance of getting cool shoes.
Sure.
Because they don't really make shoes, nice shoes that big. And I found out a couple months ago that you can buy from Vans. Vans allows you to actually make custom shoes, and you can buy them from them. And this was one of the patterns that they had on the custom shoes. So I finally got my pair of Galaxy shoes.
I feel like I should just buy shoes for everyone in tomorrow, and we should all have the Galaxy shoes.
Sure.
So we show up all wearing. Wouldn't that be amazing?
They all it takes about a month But you can literally, there's like 50 colors, 40 patterns, and you could do whatever the heck you want, and Vans will make it for you. So it's pretty cool. You can even actually upload patterns of your own to Vans, and they'll do that as well. So.
Jacob says we should have this screen on instead of our faces for the whole show. So just the shoes. We'll be talking over a pair of shoes.
So, wait, so it still has to be as animated as me when I'm talking, right?
Yeah.
So, with everything that we have right here, right now, when you look right here, so look over there, and you can see.
Sarge Enzyme is asking for the website. I think it's just vans.com/customs.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Something like that.
And you can get it like in high top, slip-on, classic. You know, I mean, they're just good shoes to begin with.
Carrie Ann has asked, can we have the TMRO logo on our shoes? That's actually a really great idea. I did, for those wondering, I did just order a couple long-sleeved shirts with the TMRO, just the TMRO typeface, none of the logos or anything else. So I can test the quality of the shirt, test the quality of the print, and see if we like them, and then we may start adding shirts into our store. Shoes would be an interesting thing too. I'm not sure. Shoes, you just need so many more sizes though, right? Shirts, I just need like 3 or 4. Shoes, I'm gonna need like 10. I mean, it's just so much stuff. But maybe we make that a special thing. Oh, maybe we make it. See, I try
like
not to be
Patreon reward.
I was thinking like a Patreon reward where you're eligible to buy the shoes, but that seems kind of dickish, doesn't it? Kind of like give us money and you're eligible to give us more money. Yeah, that doesn't seem right. I mean, even if we just pass the cost straight along, it just doesn't. It doesn't fit. It doesn't pass the gut check on that one. So I don't know. Maybe it's you order the shoe and then we order it on your behalf. I have no idea. For the TMRO team. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if other people want it, something.
If anybody wants to, I put photos of the shoes on my Twitter, so you can
I like how you're
get
telling
them from there.
I feel a little bad. You're doing this incredible story, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, neat story.
great.
Show
What
me your
about
shoes.
I mean, they are awesome. Everybody at work, everybody at my job was just like, "Holy shnikes!"
Oh,
everybody at Griffith last night was like, "I want them. Where do I get them?" So it's good shoes. So.
Colton wants the small TMRO text stickers that we use on packages. If you ever buy something from the TMRO store, I didn't want to spend the necessary money to have custom boxes made with the TMRO emblem on it and custom things, because we just don't go through that much inventory, and I would have like 1,000 of these things, and it would take me like 20 years to get rid of them, and that's a lot of money in just boxes. So I was like, or I could spend $20 on Sticker Mule and have I have sheets and sheets of just TMRO stickers that I stick on all the boxes, so that when you get the box or the little bag in the mail or whatever it is, it's just got a nice little branding, just a nice little flair.
Yeah.
And
cool.
We don't sell those stickers on the store. I don't know. I mean, you can get the other stickers. That wasn't really their intent. Something. Rebel is excited about an incoming...
Yeah, there's actually a comet that Hubble picked up, which is the furthest away we've ever actually seen a comet be active. And it's still very far away from us. I think it's like mid-2022, potentially, when it's swinging through. But we've spotted it 5 years out, and that's a record for a comet. But that doesn't mean that it's going to become the brightest comet ever. Comets are really tricky. I'm sure we all remember Comet Ison back in, I think it was 2013, that was going on Thanksgiving Day, and they were like, oh, it's going to get so close to the sun that you can cover up the sun with your hand and see it. Because it's going to get that bright.
It'll be bigger than the sun in the night sky.
And it didn't happen. The sun literally just burned it apart as it approached. Like 2 days before its closest approach, the sun just tore it a new one, and that was it. So, and that's kind of the way it goes with comets. It's really a roll of the dice as to how active the comet is going to be, because we can. It's just really difficult to predict it. So. Yeah, Rebel, you're saying it's the prediction right now is 6 magnitude, so that's just barely on the limit of what your naked eye can see in super dark skies. So yeah, take cometary predictions with as much salt as you can, because nobody can really predict that accurately. So. Yeah.
Chat room's giving me crap regarding the Green Jim says I'd get bored with the TMRO logo and in 20 years change it. Actually, I was going
to say within a couple years, not 20 years.
No. So we spent a great deal of time. No, actually, we both spent a great deal of time on that one. So it's broken into 2 parts. There's the typeface, which took us forever to get right, but I still love and adore it. And then there's the logo, which I do still love and adore, but we're not using right now because what I want to do is create a similar logo for all of our other shows, like Science and Cities, Space, all on the same family. And I haven't been able to, like the designer who made it hasn't been answering my emails. So I haven't been able to create that cohesive design language yet. I do want to bring back the space logo. I love the TMRO space logo, the one that we have with the spires and like.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't foresee myself getting rid of that anytime soon. I do cycle through things that I don't absolutely love, but once I absolutely love it.
Just to be clear what we're talking about, this is typeface.
Hang on. Let's get that.
And this is logo.
Yeah, you can kind of see that. Mostly see that. Here, I'll hold this up. Go camera me. Hey, Jared, you remember that tripod?
Yeah. The one I used to record the rocket launches?
Oh, is that why you stuff in
Unless you don't mind me like ripping it out of here every time I go to a rocket
I'll
launch.
just buy one. So. All right. Now we have to wait for Now he has to walk all the way back. All the way back. All right. Typeface. These are the stickers that I use. These are the stickers.
You okay? You having a stroke?
These are the stickers that I use for all of our mailings. So I just had them, print a bunch on a sheet. And so this is the typeface. And then this is the logo itself, right? So this is the space logo. I want to use these spires and make them a common element for all of our different logos. So maybe for Science have like similar spires, but then like DNA strands going around it, or maybe like do something with the swoops. So it all has this same. You can go back. It all has the same design language.
I feel like I'm watching QVC.
Shoes, stickers, design language.
Only 3 easy pay payments. For those who don't know, I cut my teeth in home shopping. That is one of my first.
Wow.
My first large national video gigs was a home shopping network.
Wow.
Yeah, not a small one either. Yep, they had money. They had. I kind of joke that I started in home shopping and I have been going downhill ever since. Oh my God. Anyhow, yeah. Alexa, enable the video switcher. Alexa, take camera B. I'm sorry, I don't understand camera B.
This is what I found on the internet.
Hey Google, take camera B. There, I got them all now. Hey Siri, take camera B. And then what is there? I got that one.
God.
Oh, and hey, here we go. Cody, hey Cortana, take camera B. Echelon. What's his name? We had a guest in the studio today. He had to leave at noon. I won't mention his name because he's not here, so he can't defend himself. But friend of mine for a long time, and for every Company X launch, before, during, and after the launch, so at least 3 times, if not more, I would get a text message from him that said, I just wanted to say good luck We're all counting on you. Every launch without fail. And then he decided to bring us a gift. Allow me to bring that out here. So he brought the studio a gift today. This is just the type of person he is. Is it sitting? Yes, it is. It's right here. Here we go. So this is what he brought the studio. Just brought us a pineapple, because that's what one does. Thank you, Jared. Now, for only 3 easy pay payments of... No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, it smells good.
Well, it's a real...
I love pineapple.
It's a real pineapple.
So good. Smells really good.
Should I?
I'll put this. I'll put this next to the battery.
Should I jack it up and shellac it?
Yeah. John, it's the pooping pineapple joke. You know, getting these shows done is a little bit like pooping a pineapple. I like camera 3 shot. It's just kind of like
chest.
Yeah, it's just like.
Look at this wonderful shirt that he's wearing.
Hey, I coordinate with the chair.
It's a great garment.
Oh, and to add to that, to add to what our guest would do, right before I got on air, they're just finishing up news, and as Carrie Ann's finishing up, he turns to me and he says, "That's not what you're wearing on air, is it?" He's like, "Hope you can think about that through your entire segment." I was like, "Thanks." Oh man. Woo. Did he say that?
Yeah, he did.
He said, "Good luck, we're all counting on you."
Just right before you went out.
All right. Are we done? I'm loving and adoring the Carrie Ann's
great.
done. Carrie Ann's out.
I really like how pineapple smells, and how it. I mean, it's just good. It's good stuff.
I was going to talk about audio. So really quick,
I'm huffing this pineapple.
we've been struggling with our audio packs, and I mentioned a while ago that we got new audio. We spent an obscene amount of money on new audio. It's actually not that bad when you consider everything we got. So we got a new audio board. We got new. We've actually installed the new audio receivers in each of the rooms, and we are one of the first recipients of the new 4-channel Shure Accent system. So what are you doing?
Oh, dang it, shit on me. You thought that one was good, didn't you? Wow.
I'm at that point in my voice where I'm so tired that I try to laugh and nothing comes out except this like. Yeah, I had a Jared moment. Sorry.
That's all right. It's all right. As they were mentioning in the chat room, I'm patient 0 for today. So.
Thank you, Neb. Thank you, Neb. Yeah. I feel sorry for. Thanks, Dada. Thanks, Dada.
Audio was it?
Helldesk is asking if the old stuff will sell for anything. Actually, the plan is to reuse as much of it as possible. So I'll probably send at least one of these mic packs to Space Mike, so he doesn't have to struggle with them as much. Just the batteries work better. I do expect that we'll have the new microphone system in hopefully by next week. I know that it shipped out this last Friday. It's a drop shipment, so I don't actually know when it's going to show up, but I don't expect it to take more than 5 days. So, all the old stuff will get reused, but the new audio board does seem to be, like, we have a lot more, it's much easier to control the EQ. You saw that it was very easy for us to add a high-pass filter. So I almost set a low-pass filter. Actually, the other thing I want a high and low-pass filter and get rid of some of these other weird extraneous frequencies. But, okay. I think it's time that we leave now. Thank you, everyone. There's no topic set for next week. It's going to be a roundtable, so if you have ideas for the roundtable, leave it in the chat room. We'll get some voting or something going up for our patrons, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.